So hello there, people of the internet, and today I finally decided to go into the last wing of Lafar and kill the last boss for completion's sake. And holy shit, is it boring as... Oh, it's boring as balls. It's ridiculous. I think you can run the entire LFR with just one healer, one tank, and you'll be fine. It's just utter dog shit. The only way you can die is if it bores you to death. It's just so bad. It is so bad. Now, that's not what I'm here to talk about, though. I'm here to talk about gear in Highmall and gearing in general, because this expansion, it was quite weird. So it started off with normal mode and heroic dungeons, and before you start yelling at me for what I'm about to say, I have my reasons for it, alright? And I will explain it. So, we got this tertiary stat bullshit and this random gem slot bullshit and this Warforged shit that we already got in Pandaria. And in my opinion, that's incredibly lazy. Now, why is that? Well, it's much easier to do this than to give us more dungeons and more interesting ways of obtaining gear. So, Blizzard, you know, when you have a full heroic set of gear, you're like, Blizzard, I have nothing to do. All they need to do is just turn around and say, look, you do have a full set of heroic gear, but it's not Warforged with a gem slot and a tertiary stat. So go run those dungeons again, bitch. And that's just very lazy. That's incredibly lazy, you know. Instead of giving us more dungeons and more interesting ways to do this stuff, they just did this, you know. Oh, you have full heroic gear, but it's not Warforged. It doesn't have gems, and it doesn't have tertiary stat. So, you know, instead of you kind of gearing up and being done, if you're someone like me, you're always thinking about this, you know, I still have this heroic piece that's not either Warforged, or it doesn't have a gem or a tertiary stat, and I should probably run this dungeon again just in case it drops, you know. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to play this game 12 hours a day every day, so that was kind of annoying for me. The next thing was crafting, and crafting this time around is just utter bullshit in my opinion. Alright, it just takes time. It's nothing more. It just takes time. It's not difficult. It doesn't require you to go around the world. You know, the best crafted items are the items like Jeeves, because you have to craft all the other repair bots and then combine them together. So you're going for the vanilla repair bot, then you're going for the Burning Crusade repair bot, you're going for the Wrath of the Lich King repair bot, and then you can finally combine it into Jeeves. Alright, and it's satisfying because you're going all over the world and it's interesting, and you're gathering different materials and resources, and you're crafting them, refining them, and then you're finally making a product. Now it's just, well, I've clicked a button, tomorrow I will click it again, and in about a week I will click a different button and I will get my piece of gear. Then I will click the first button a couple more times, and then I will click a different button, and then I will upgrade that piece of gear. That's just lazy as fuck. So I didn't really like that. Then we got into Highmall. And in the beginning, I was like, okay, so Resto Druids, I want Mastery, I want Haste. Those are the two strongest things for me. Those are the best things I can get. And in the beginning, I was going after these stats. I was just like, okay, you know, this doesn't have my stats, you know, it's a better upgrade for someone else, until I realized that the itemization in Highmall is bullshit. You know, just look at the loot table in Highmall. And I hope you like fucking versatility, because it's fucking everywhere. Alright? Sometimes the itemization doesn't suit any class or any spec. It just have two stats that are completely fucking random. It doesn't work with any class. And you know what? You just have to fucking deal with it. Right now, when something drops, I'm like, this could be an upgrade. It has shit stats, but it could be an upgrade. So, yeah. I guess I'll need it for main spec. So, yeah. And once again, we have this bullshit with Warforged stuff, gems, and the tertiary stats. Now, another thing this kind of breaks is the first couple of bosses in the new Blackrock Foundry raid that we're gonna get next month, I do believe. Now, here's the thing. Blizzard can't tune bosses around people having this Warforged stuff and this gemmed stuff. They have to tune it around people not having this stuff. Because if your raid gets unlucky and there happens to be a gear check at the start of an instance, you're fucked. Alright, so they have to tune it around people not having this stuff. So if your raid gets lucky and you get a bunch of Warforged shit with gems, you are overgearing the instance the first time you go through it. Now, here's the thing that really annoys me. This mistake was already made, it was acknowledged, and they made it again. Similar mistake happened in Mists of Pandaria, in Throne of Thunder, 5.3. Or was it 5.2? I can't remember. I think it was 5.2 Throne of Thunder. So what happened is they gave us the item upgrades, which was a bad idea. They know this. You know, they have acknowledged this. So what happened was they gave us the item upgrades, and if you got a couple of Thunderforged pieces and you upgraded all your gear, even though you were running solely normal mode Throne of Thunder, you were able to brute force at least half of Siege of Orgrimmar on normal mode. Just brute force, straight up brute force. Tanks aren't going to die. Healers aren't gonna let anyone else die. They're always gonna have enough mana, it's no problem, and DPS are just doing way too much DPS. So what you can do is essentially stack up, do deeps, AoE heal, and you win. That's what happened in normal mode Siege of Orgrimmar if you were doing Throne of Thunder normal mode. So here we are, making the same mistake. But this time, it's more random, because apparently that's the theme of this expansion. And that's the one thing that I absolutely despise about this expansion. Randomness fucking everywhere. And while I do believe that the casual stuff benefits heavily from having RNG mechanics, because it keeps it fresh, I don't believe that it should be fucking everywhere. A great example of misplaced bullshit RNG is Mythic Brackenspore. If you've done Mythic Brackenspore, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, here is the dealio. Mythic Brackenspore comes in with 2 additional abilities, Exploding Mushrooms and Tidal Wave. Now, for some reason, those 2 are on the same timer, and which one you get is completely fucking random. That would be alright if you had to deal with them in the same way, and they would be on the same level of difficulty. But they aren't. So please, explain to me this. Why in a boss fight where if you misplace a cooldown on a tank he will die? Why in a boss fight where tanks are taking more than 200k damage per swing? Why in a fucking boss fight where if one DPS player interrupts at the wrong time everybody's fucking dead? And why in a fucking boss fight where we have to stand on a fucking mushroom to not take ridiculous fucking damage? Why in this boss fight do we have 2 abilities on the same fucking timer, and one of them might require you to make 2 steps to the right, while the other one might require you to run across the entire fucking boss room and die? It just doesn't make an awful lot of sense. There's no RNG in LFR, no RNG in normal mode, no RNG on heroic, but on Mythic, where people really like to study tactics and they're trying to execute a boss fight as well as they can, why would you add an RNG mechanic? That doesn't make an awful lot of sense. But yeah, here are my thoughts on RNG that has plagued this expansion. It's the one thing about this expansion that I just don't like. So there you go. I thank you all for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye bye.